Welcome to the podcast To Be More, where we explore a variety of topics with interesting guests and newsmakers in and around the Baltimore metro area. While we have our challenges here in Baltimore, we also have some amazing projects underway. In fact, a CIAA kickoff event was just held at the newly remodeled Lexington Market. And where will CIAA tournament be held? At the newly remodeled CFG Bank Arena. Well, what's that, you might ask? Well, I know you remember the Baltimore Civic Center, or the Baltimore Arena, or maybe the First Marino Arena, or the Big Chicken Box, the Royal Farms Arena. Whatever the name, the next time you enter, you likely won't recognize the place as it's undergoing a major multi-million-dollar makeover. Joining me right now to discuss this and more is the General Manager, Frank Remesch. Frank, thank you very much for joining me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for inviting me, TJ.
Yes. So it's a big renovation going on. We have known this building for many, many years, and the renovation's way overdue. We know that. So talk to us about the renovation. It has a new name that's been unveiled, and the name is just the naming rights, no different than M&T Bank Stadium. CFG Bank has the naming rights for the arena right now.
Correct. Yeah, so as you know, the building was built in 1962, and this is going on my 35th year here, and almost from day one, they talked about putting a new building up. We lasted, if you think about it, we lasted longer than the Cap Center, which was built in '73 to take our place, basically, right, where the Bullets moved. That being said, over the years, Baltimore has proven to be a primary market. And unfortunately, look, I absolutely adored the old building. It's like trying to say one of your kids are ugly. I mean, I get it. I was very defensive. I wouldn't let anyone else say it, but I get it. We needed, meaning Baltimore, and we deserved a new facility. And I'm no different than everyone else. You know, you even if you ride by now and you look at the outside, there's some stuff going on. It's the inside. I literally was just there. I was talking to you earlier and did a tour of the building. It basically was eviscerated. It was down to the pillars. And my company is putting, it's definitely north of $250 million. I mean, it could touch $300 million when it's all said and done. And that's no public assistance whatsoever. You know, everything we do is transparent. You can see it. I promise you, there's no help from the government. And I was talking about this the other day. To me, that is so important for Baltimore, because when you have other companies come in and they want some kind of TIF or other kind of tax break, you can point to the arena and say, well, wait a minute now. You know, if this company came in and it's believed in Baltimore, why don't you, right? So I think there's other ramifications of just what we're going to talk about today, in that, what does this mean? Again, to go back a little bit, the inside of the arena right now is being put back together again. Everything, no matter what you ask me, was replaced. Concessions, backstage production area. The fan experience, the hallways are larger. You think, like, how can you do it with a footprint? Well, the design was crazy. They changed. There's going to be concourses where you can actually walk around and watch the event as you're walking around.
Yeah, that definitely is
yeah, you know,
because you couldn't see anything if you went in the hallway.
I had 2 suites that I had put in probably about 10 years ago, or 38 now. Again, I'll geek out on the operational side, and I'll explain why that's important. There used to be this acoustical ceiling that was in, like when you looked up at the arena where the rigging was and stuff, there was an acoustical ceiling that was put there to break up the sound waves, to make it a better house way back when. And we were a theater and an orchestra, too, when we first started. Well, nowadays you don't need that. You have electronics, right, like you have in the studio. So we took that ceiling out, and what that did, that ceiling was you know, arguably, you know, some people thought it was nice looking, some people didn't. But at the end of the day, technically it was very hard for a show to move in, because when a show comes in, they want a certain point on the floor or whatever when they're hanging their speakers or their extra stages. And to get that point, it was crazy rigging that had to be done. I mean, basically you had to understand trig, you had to do diamond bridles and all kind of stuff. Well, now we moved that out. So what does that mean? That means it's cheaper and it's faster. And why is that important? Because now it helps me compete against the other buildings. I used to have to give away a day, like if we had Springsteen on a Saturday, they would ask if they could come in and pre-rig because of that crazy ceiling on a Friday. Well, that costs money,
right.
and I lost a date, right? So, and I know I'm kind of getting into the weeds a little bit, but at the end of the day, there's behind the scenes enhancements, 4,000 amp show power now, right? Again, I can geek out, but that's phenomenal because now shows don't have to bring generators in. Everything's state of the art, from the production side to the fan side. Baltimore always was a great market. You and I talked about this. We're both from Baltimore. We're both proud of Baltimore, and it's incredible. It's a diversified market. We can sell to country, urban, old rock and roll, Christian, gospel. We sell everything out. It's phenomenal. Now we will have a facility that will help promote the industry too. I mean, to help promote the town also.
Yeah, well, you talked about it with this. I can't wait to get inside of it once it's done. And this is a really sped up window to get it done. You talked about concessions. I know I jumped straight to food, of course. But, people have been there over the years, chicken fingers and fries. But I know some local eateries are going to go in this go around. What can people expect from the food offerings this next iteration of the arena?
Well, I'll do the politically correct statement right now. We're still working on stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it will have a national flair, but it will have a Baltimore flair too. And we will have our own kitchen. So again, when you have sweet sales, you'll be able to almost get anything you want. We'll be able to cook to order. And everything's state of the art. The grab and goes, we plan on doing those. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, where you literally just walk into like a store, grab what you want, and then boom, check out on your own. Speed. So what does that matter? Well, then you can get back to the show. That's why you paid to come, right? You didn't come to stand in a concession line for 20 minutes during your favorite act, right? You get your food and beer and get the heck out and go sit in a seat.
Yeah, so people are going to have more options than popcorn and nachos and chicken fingers. So the fan experience, and we have to talk about your personal story. We got to get back to the renovation, but your personal story, because that's interesting as well. You said 35 years with the arena, but you didn't start as general manager. You worked your way up.
Yeah, I started out as building electrician in the very beginning, and then just kind of made sure I was in the right place at the right time and had the right education. And I like to say I won by attrition. I was last person standing, but I had very good teachers and supporters through the way. And I've always been lucky. I haven't been lucky much in life, but when it came to the arena, I always kind of did the right thing. My job is so simple in that I do what your mom and your grandmom taught you, right? I mean, how do you expect to be treated? And you make sure you do that with the fan, and you make sure you do that with the promoter, right, and the act. It's that simple. Say thank you. Make sure, look, everybody pays a lot of money. We all go to the movies. We all go to venues. You make sure you let people know that they're appreciated. You listen to what they say. And we really, truly do. We always have. Because remember, we had this facility that was old, was kind of worn out and beat up a little bit. So we won with customer service. And we'll take that into the new building. And I think, again, it's just a simple approach. I know it sounds corny, but it's kind of what helped me out through my whole career. And what I like is, again, I'm kind of ops geek, right? The electrical, the plumbing, the rigging. I love all that stuff. So it's nice understanding the building. I think it's gone a long way.
But you know that building inside and out, and you literally started from the bottom. Now you're here.
Literally.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, because you have a vested interest in the building, because you have literally helped build it from the ground up with this new version of it. And I think it's also important for people to know that even with the condition that we've talked about already a number of times, how big of a venue this was for its size across the North America. And one thing that stands out for me, I want to say it was 2011. Sade, the band, the artists, opened up our North American leg of her tour right here in Baltimore for the Soldier of Love tour. And I was here, I think section 201, and got to see, and she said, "I love you," and I know she was talking to me. I would have caught a rose, but She opened it up right here in Baltimore.
Right.
You know, for her North American tour, which had probably 40 dates, and it was here in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. I think about it. We had Prince.
Yeah.
We had Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. It's, again, Baltimore proves it will support. You have to, if I get the shows, that's great, but then we have to support the shows, and we've proven it. I mean, the iconic figures. Look, what I love about this project more than anything else, right? Our society is a throwaway society. We all agree with that, right? Whether it's good or bad, that's just the way it is. Well, I'll take it to another level. I was at a company seminar, and it was out in Vail, and I couldn't sleep. I went down early in the morning, and there was a young lady sitting there, and I asked if I could sit next to her, and we started talking. And she's working for my company, and she's the, let's just say the green officer, right? She's the one that makes sure we're all into, recycling and all that stuff. And I kind of said to her, with the building, unfortunately, we're not going to have the space of the newer buildings to have the complete recycling plants and all that, but we're going to go a long way. We're definitely going to recycle. And, I was trying to convince her that I'm going to do my best. And she said, well, let me explain something to you. And again, I may mess these numbers up, figures up a little bit. She said something like 98% of trash from a construction site, concrete and rebar. Well, we repurposed all yours. You are the ultimate green building, which is kind of cool when you think about that. Look, our forefathers built that building. It was a fallout shelter. Well, when we first started this process, they did all the tests. It was built like you wouldn't believe. So that gave us, by the structure, the superstructure being sound, they gave us the ability to get this building done in 9 or 10 months. Because you didn't have to redo the superstructure. You just had to redesign it. Again, you don't, sometimes in Baltimore, you don't think green, right? Well, that was all that would have been in a landfill if we would have just knocked that building down and built a new building. And the secondary result of that, we get to keep our history.
Right.
Think about the people that walked in that building from 1962 to now. The Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr.'s, Martin Luther King, right? Obama, before he really took off,
I was
right?
there,
He took off.
I was there.
You remember that? He literally took off weeks. That's when he overtook Hillary, right? So it almost gives you chills. It's surreal for me, and it will always be, even to this day, so it's going to be great. I can still walk out when it's dark, and I'm the last one in that building, and you feel it.
Look around.
I'm not trying to be corny, but you can absolutely sense those who've walked before us.
No, it absolutely means something when you ride. Even riding past it, I can still remember, and it's so funny. My cousin and I actually still have memories of certain songs that come on the radio, and we can remember leaving wrestling matches in the '80s. From the arena, and like some of my earliest memories, I remember the Shrine Circus used to come, and obviously the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and being down there for wrestling matches in the '80s, and WWF back then, and LL Cool J was one of my earliest rap concerts I went to. The Big Radio on stage, Run DMC. All at the Baltimore Arena. So it's where memories are made. And I was able to take my son there for one of his first big, performances.
Like a rite of passage.
Yeah, exactly. He got to see, I think, the Avengers live there. So it's a big deal. And it's a lot more memories left to be made. And you were talking about the repurposing and the team that's been working for 9 to 10 months to get this done. We saw a press conference recently with Pharrell in town, Ray Lewis. We understand Kevin Durant has an investment team involved. Who are the people that are involved in this project?
Well, you just stole my thunder. That's pretty much it, right? So what's great about that is it's a very diversified project, and you hear that all the time. But these guys aren't just putting money up. They have skin in the game. They want to make it a success. Pharrell, I've never met him before, that press conference, and we had a conversation. He's real. I mean, he's not in to try to make money. He really wants to help the community. He's about, hey, look, okay, I'm going to go off on another tangent. Somebody one time asked me, this is going to sound corny, but it's the God's honest truth. What do you love about your job, right? And what I would always say is, what's great about my job is, I'm sure there's other jobs out there that do the same thing. And I'm not saying I have an important job. I'm just saying what I love about my job. For 3.5 hours a night, people forget about race, they forget about politics, they forget about problems. They're there, the guy next to him, the woman to the left, they enjoy each other and they're happy. How many how many times in life can you say that you affect someone like that, right? And Pharrell said that. He goes, this is, again, you take it back, I'm going to paraphrase, but basically it's a civic building. We're here for the community to bring people together. Everything's separated now. Let us bring people together. And we do. That's what's great about entertainment. Entertainment was strong in 2008 during the recession. We all put our heads down and went, oh my God, how's this going to affect our industry? We did great. Why? Because people did not want to give that up. They may not buy that new car, but they wanted to be able to enjoy their lives to a degree and escape and have that 3.5-hour escape. So Pharrell sees that. Ray Lewis sees that. Obviously, Ray Lewis is a transplant, but he is Baltimore, right? We are Ray Lewis, and he was the exact same way. And to have those two, man, it's. I'm used to being solo with everything, right? Mm-hmm. So you have helpers like that are going to drive it, and also, again, to do a shout out for my own company, they help me. I've never had anyone help me book the building before. They help just by virtue of who they know, because one of the owners of my company, Irving Azoff, is one of the largest agents in the world. So it's self-serving to bring his shows to Baltimore. So not to say he still has an obligation to bring them up, but at least we get a look now. We never got a look. I had a fight. You're going to ask me this, so I might as well get talking right about this. So what's the difference between the new building and the old building other than the amenities, all the great amenities and stuff, right? Why do people want to come? Well, I will almost guarantee you in the old days, pre-COVID, when we're still hitting our stride, I would do about 105 events a year. Remember, we don't have a sports team. We do about 105 events a year. Do a lot of family shows, and then the concerts, I'd probably put about 20 concerts in, maybe 1 or 2 A's a year. I know it's going to sound fake, but again, you better get me back in a year and a half and go shake my hand or call me a liar, one or the other, because everything I do is transparent. Well, now we'll probably put somewhere between 50 and 60 concerts a year. Wow. It could be up to 40 A-list concerts. I mean, wait till you see what's coming.
Oh, I saw two of them already.
Right, you just see
two of them are public.
Right.
Anita Baker and Lizzo.
And Bruce sold out.
And Bruce, that's right.
Blink 182 sold out. Right.
Oh,
we all know Lizzo is going to sell out. Knock on wood. Right. And come on, Anita, come on. Right. That's stupid. You know that's going to sell out.
So Anita, real quickly. So during the pandemic, I hooked up with a group. I got to give my guy Flo his props. He did a R&B like Survivor Series type thing of music, like the NCAA tournament, and took all of these records and we were voting on them weekly. And the album that won was Anita Baker Rapture.
Wow.
And these were Gen Xers that voted on these albums. And when I shared the post that Anita Baker was coming to town in May, I believe it is May of 2023, right. People were commenting and sharing it, and that's the talk of the town already.
Yep.
So Anita's going to be one of those sellouts as well.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt in my mind.
I thought she retired, and she's back out of retirement now, the songstress.
And I got to tell you something. I got to watch. I'm not here to slam any other venue. Her show was going to another venue, and we worked very hard and got her. I think it was from the enthusiasm, and we worked very hard to get her and convince her to come to Baltimore, and we weren't her first choice. And we convinced her with the new building and obviously the fan base and said, I can't. In some big cities, you're one of many. Here, we actually appreciate, and we will. You will, if you talk to even the promoters that see shows everywhere, right? They see shows in Philly, D.C., Oklahoma, wherever, right? L.A., and you watch how the fans react in Baltimore. And I'm not. Look, I know I'm a homer, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you what I see, God's honest truth. They act differently. They actually move. They sing. They sway. Right. Other venues, they just sit like a log. Right. Yeah. You don't tell me the performers absolutely
feed off that energy. Yeah.
Bruce called the promoter on his plane ride home after his first show here, and said about the enthusiasm of the fans from Baltimore. And he was here, and he was a nobody. He was here in 1975. Before that, so it shows you they watch. They feed off that. And the neat thing about this building too is, though we have that many suites, they're not in your face, they're kind of hidden. So when the performer looks out, he's seeing people sitting in the seats. He's not seeing all like a whole monster suite level.
Right.
They don't want to see that. They want to see people. They love the blue collar part of our town.
And I read an article about that, and I can't remember which artist. It could have been Bruce actually, but I read an article that artists love coming to Baltimore, which, if I'm not mistaken, you would know that the Baltimore Arena was rated one of the top venues of its size for several years for bookings because they liked that intimacy. It was a larger venue, so they could play for more people. So it wasn't like the size of a Lear.
You're reading you're reading everything I said, so it's perfect. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
stealing my thunder. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So they liked that intimacy because it didn't have the big glass, facades of that luxury box, white collar feel, and it had the people right there, but they could play to more people.
Yeah, and look, and what I'm about to say is some people are not going to like what I have to say, but it's the truth. I've said it for a long time. I was there basically. I'm from Baltimore. You're from Baltimore. We remember when the Bullets left, right? And we always thought, well, maybe we'll build an arena one day and we'll get a team back. We'll get an NBA team. I'm talking about NBA and NHL, right? We'll get an NHL. It never was going to happen. People don't want to believe me. They get mad. Look, I'm from Baltimore. I love sports, right? But there was a reason why they left. We don't support them, unfortunately, right? Plus, even if you argue with me and you beat me on that one, Leon's just isn't going to give up his territorial rights. Right. So at the end of the day, you know what you do? Build it for concerts. Build it what we're good at, right? Now, will we still do sporting events? Yeah, I promise you. I'm going to work, CIAs, right? I'm going to work to get, I don't want to sell myself out so they know I'm going after them, but I will. I'm definitely going to go after a Wizards game. I'm definitely going to go after a Capitals game. I'm definitely going to go after a Maryland game. I promise you that. And that's more of an event, and it works great for us. But sporting teams, for us, it sounds good on paper, but it doesn't work out well. They take all your dates, and especially hockey, because hockey, you have this big slab of ice. You end up having to do concerts, you do bull riding, you do monster trucks over ice. So it makes everything expensive and complicated. So you build it for concerts. You go by what you said. When I go into the arena and I look around, we were up at the worst seats in the house. They're incredible seats. The sight lines are absolutely incredible. You go to other big arenas, they're built for sporting teams. It's a different experience. And what I was getting back to circle back around, the promoters themselves say that, right? They've been to so many, they know a lot more about it than I do because they go throughout the whole United States and world and they see different buildings. Ours is a large, intimate building. It's exactly what you said, and it's a God's honest truth.
And you can feel it coming off of you, and that goes back to your roots as an electrician and knowing the building inside and out, and knowing the experience inside and out. And I agree with you. I know that we're not getting those teams. And for people who didn't catch it, Ted Leonis is the owner of the Washington area sports teams, and he owns the market rights basically in Baltimore, similar to what Peter Angelos, the owner of the Orioles, had with the Washington baseball rights that he ultimately conceded to allow the Washington Nationals to become a team. But you actually read my mind because I wanted to know if we were going to have opportunities to have some, or if you were going to go after opportunities to bring some Capital games or Wizard games here, because we do support those and spots when
NCAAs.
they come here in NCAA.
Absolutely,
of course,
I promise. I'm going to do it. I've already started, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
And CIAA that'll be coming back to Baltimore for the next several years is the Historically Black Colleges tournament that was in Charlotte. It came to us during the COVID years, and it kicked off last year in person, and we're going to have it for the next several years. And we blew it out the house last year. We're going to blow it out the house for the next several years, and we're probably going to steal it from Charlotte and have it here in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. So some big stuff is on the way. What about a G League or women's team? Is that anything that we would think we would want, or you really think we're better at just more so being that concert and entertainment venue than really trying to house a sports team to take, those 40 or 60 games?
Honestly, it was definitely built for concerts, and that's what you want to stay with. And don't get me wrong, we're still going to do family shows. We're still going to do the monster trucks. They're going to have another circus come back, right? We'll do the Disney on Ices. We'll do the Jurassic Parks, the Sesame Street. We'll do all that. I mean, because we're still a civic building. It's still, again, one thing to be proud of, too, in Baltimore. For the longest time, we were I think we were the top family show market in the nation. And one of the reasons being is we don't have teams. So we could fit all those shows.
Right.
And we supported them. I mean, that's why ultimately they keep coming back, is because we support them. Yeah. Again, build it for concerts, and then also do family shows, and then do your one-off sporting events.
Yeah. Who have you, over your years, have you wanted that you didn't get? Has there been any?
It's just funny. You're setting me up with batting practice fastballs, but I had cocky enough. Look, we're old enough that we've almost hit everyone, right? But there was a time on my recent list, and I'm not the new ones. I can't say because you're turning them over. I'm basically talking about the oldies, right? Getting Sade, getting Beyonce, getting Prince, right? I mean, I never thought I would get Prince. I kind of lucked into that. He called us,
wow.
which is great, to do the right thing for Baltimore. But mine was Jimmy Buffett, because he always played outside, and Paul McCartney, because he was one of the. I got the Rolling Stones, right? Because they were one of the first bands that played, but also were the Beatles, and to have McCartney back. So we end up getting Jimmy Buffett, which was phenomenally sold out. He was another one. He was at the Naval Academy. He was speaking to some of my union guys, talking about how excited he was to come to Baltimore and the iconic building, which was kind of cool, right? And then McCartney. Well, we were just starting the conversation when we did the sidestep to remodel. So we'd like to hope, God willing, and the creek doesn't rise, we'll get him too.
Wow.
So yeah, and when you see, not trying to be overly confident, but I'm the one handling the book, so I get to see what's coming. Again, wait till you see who we have coming consistently. It's not one or two. Like I said, it's probably 50. It's unbelievable what you'll see in a year. The big names.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean,
And if we support them, they'll keep coming.
Yeah.
It's such my job's so easy, right? Just book them, people come, they support them, boom, they come again. Right?
I know Stevie played Songs in the Key of Life not long ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
So the big ones have been there. Anything, with any artists behind the scenes that the public doesn't know about, where they maybe almost didn't make the stage, or something crazy was happening that you
this is
had to intervene?
It's funny. Somebody just asked me, what was my most favorite thing with an artist? There was two things. It was Garth Brooks, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but Garth Brooks and Prince. It was two things that happened there. The Prince is kind of quick. Prince, God rest his soul. He was the kind of person. Remember, for the longest time, you weren't allowed to make eye contact with him and stuff like that. He was very elusive. Well, right after the riots, Prince wanted to heal, right? So he called us up. It was just weeks afterwards, right, to come in. And we were told, don't talk to him, which we don't. And my staff, we don't do that. But during sound check, we all kind of know what sound check is. It's sound check. They'll literally go over their instruments and stuff. Everyone has to be out of the arena bowl itself. You shut the curtains and you're in your offices, right? Well, my director of operations and I were walking around, didn't quite know the sound check was going to hit that moment, right? And they shut everything off, so we kind of got trapped in. Not that it was that hard, because we could have walked out. And I don't really do this that much in life. I really don't. I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it's, enough time has passed, right? We both looked at each other and said, look, I got, I don't ask for much in life. I got to be part of this history, right? So we just happened to be sitting right next to the mix position. It was pitch black in the arena. The band basically was on the stage, and this person came up to the mix position, and he started calling out, hey, TJ, hit three notes on the drums. Lamont, go ahead, hit 2 notes on guitar, right? And he's tweaking every little thing. And we're slouched down in seats, and we realize Prince is standing right next to us.
Wow.
So it was surreal getting to see this man work. And very polite, very precise, and you started to realize, and again, not to be overly dramatic, but just to see that intelligence and that perfection was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So, next story. I'll try to be quick on this one. We have Garth Brooks coming. We do 5 sold-out events. I'm telling you, we could have easily done 7. A snowstorm hits. Garth calls me up personally, and he says, hey, Hoss, what do you think? And I go, people from Baltimore are scared to death of snow. I'm telling you, it's not going to be good. And it was a Friday and Saturday. We had him.
It must have been 2 inches.
Yeah, no, it was actually the one where it dumped probably like over a foot or something.
Yeah.
So it was the right call in the long run. And he was here back-to-back weekends and a break in between. So it was coming on the front one. And he goes, what do you think? I said, well, I think we should probably go ahead and bump it. We have a lot of days. And he goes, when would you do it? And I said, well, I think I would do it on a Wednesday and Thursday night. He was already Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? I think I would do those shows Wednesday and Thursday night. He goes, why would you do that? And why wouldn't you do a matinee on Saturday and Sunday? I said, God's honest truth? And he goes, yeah. I said, you took all my money. The only way I'm going to make money is on beer sales. And that was God's honest truth. He took every bit of my money, right? And I only did that event, honestly, for Baltimore because we barely made any money, right? And it at first blush, if you looked at me and you looked at the books, you go, why the heck did you do that? Well, it was bigger, right? You got people eating, you got people coming in town. And look, I wanted to be a peacock and stick my chest out, and I wanted other acts to see what I've done, so they come, right? So he goes, well, how do you think it'll affect you? And I go, I don't know, I'm making this up. I said, let me think about it real quickly. About $100,000 probably in beer sales over those two events. And he goes, I got to tell you, I still want to do the matinees. I think it's what my people want. And I go, you know what, Garth? I'm not going to make a positive and negative. I'm a big boy. I didn't think about having a force majeure clause for snow I'm fine. I don't care. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to make it, shake your hand still. I'm good with that. Okay, fast forward. He's doing a press conference. And what they tell me with Garth when he does a press conference, he talks to every single person till they're done and they have no air left in their lungs. He'll just keep talking to you. As long as you keep talking, he'll keep talking. That's what kind of person he is. Well, press conference is getting about to start, and I get a call from, I think it was Tennessee. It was a young lady and said, yeah, I'm like Janet, Garth Brooks' accountant. Garth is going to have me wire you a $100,000 check.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't have to make up the difference. And you always hear these negative things about people. I want to perpetuate. I want to just get that story out because he's such a good person. And it was nice. I end up going into the press conference. He's never seen me before. I'm sitting in the front row, and everybody's talking. I'm kind of waiting my turn until everybody clears out. And I mean, this man was talking for 20 minutes. I ended up getting him a water and handed it to him. He thanked me. Again, doesn't know who I am. Press conference is over. I think I was like playing on my phone or something. The press conference is over. He comes running over and sits down next to me and says, hey, I'm Garth. And I go, I'm Frank. I'm the building manager. And he goes, I want to thank you for all you've done, Frank, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get it out. And I go, no. I can't believe what you just did, blah, 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 blah. Well, the funny thing is, and I'll get kind of corny for a second, we end up, for 15 minutes, this is what kind of person he is, we end up talking about baseball and our dads, because both our dads happened to pass away that year, right? And it was just the most nostalgic, good feel. He made you feel like you were his best friend. Again, so much so that even his staff, his caterer, I remember my director of marketing at the time, she was working nonstop. She gets a knock on her door. It's the caterer with a tray full of food. He goes, I noticed you didn't eat.
Wow.
That's what kind of people they were, right?
Good.
So anyway, I'm sure there's a million stories I'm out there I'm missing, but they're just two of the stories recently that just have touched me both ways.
And Prince played for free. It was a free concert for Baltimore.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. They're fantastic stories, and I know it's interesting, man. I know you have stories for years for all of the different acts that have come through. I'm just generally curious if you've been down in the weeds enough to know if any of the artists have come through and had unusual requests, like they want some Baltimore food. I know crab cakes are always
I have one. I don't
thing.
know if I can tell. I guess I'll say it. What the heck? But the funniest thing is, again, one of my roles at one time was a director of operations, and we get these riders, right? And what a rider is, I know you know what it is, but for Joe Fan, it's basically a list of wants, desires, and needs from the act and the promoter and production. So I'm going through it, and it's not really even my job anymore. It's my director of ops job, but I'm going through it, just kind of looking at it. And with the Eagles, it said that they needed two porta pots, stage left 50 feet. And I called the tour up and said, hey, look, maybe I'm being a little anal here. But I see that, I'm an indoor facility, right? I'm not outdoor. I have bathrooms. I know I'm old, but I have bathrooms, right? And he goes, yeah, well, they're getting a little older, and they want to know, during certain times that they can, when the lights go off, they can have a bathroom break, and they know they go 50 feet, stage left, every venue they're at, they know exactly where the bathroom is. So again, they do the green M&Ms and all that kind of stuff, but, they're human beings too. There was one artist, I won't say who it is, he's passed away, God rest his soul, but he would bring his own toilet seat in, and you had to change his toilet seat, right? And you had to close off all the vents and filter it a different way. Okay. You get strange requests. Yeah.
Now, do they really eat the green M&Ms or the yellow Starburst?
I don't know. They say they do, right? And I'm the kind of person, you won't see me in trade magazines getting my picture taken. I'm this. Look, how I look at it, they don't want the picture taken with me, right? They don't want. They want to be left alone. They're human beings. They need it, right? So I really don't terrorize them backstage, and neither does my staff. We try to give them their space. But you'll get from time to time. Garth was another one. I happened to be sitting in catering, and it was my concession manager and me and two other guys. And this is an area that holds 150 people. And we were just going in, I don't know, get a cup of coffee or something. And Garth comes walking in and says, hey, guys, come here a minute, and pulls us all to one table. He goes, I'm going to show you a card trick. And then later his wife goes, did he show you that card trick again? He keeps trying to perfect that, which is funny. They're human beings, so it's a really neat story.
Right.
We've had them where we had to set, Toby Keith, we had to set the basketball floor up because he loves playing basketball. He and his crew would play basketball between practice.
Right. Because, they're there for hours on end,
Right.
And if they're there overnight, it's for multiple shows, I should say, they have a lot of time.
If they start their tour and they're practicing, sometimes they're for a complete week.
Right.
But you really try to give them their space. You don't, yeah. I tell you one thing, this is a funny story. Again, I'm probably not supposed to tell this one too, but it's really funny. I remember we had Snoop Doggy Dogg in. And I'm going to try to be really politically correct in how I say everything and make sure it's PG. But I'm walking up the hallway and I'm seeing these young ladies pass me, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, they don't look like they're dressed appropriately, right? And long story short, they start filming. They're filming in my hallways. Well, you're not supposed to film because there's union consequences if you film. And I know you do this in your business, so you understand. So I had to go knock on the dressing room door. And these big, I'm a pretty big dude, but these guys are making me look like a little kid. These guys are 350 pounds monsters come to the door, and I go, hey, look, you can't go filming everywhere you want here. It doesn't work like that. Well, then Snoop comes out. And he goes, what's the problem? And I go, look, honestly, I don't care what you do behind these doors. Just don't film, and, my union's getting upset, blah, 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 blah. Well, it finds out they were filming Black Girls Gone Wild. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff we're part of all the time. So
Backstage has its own story.
I can only imagine, right? Talk. Yes, there's no video back there on purpose, right? Yeah, you get that.
As part of the renovation, how is that backstage transitioning, the green rooms and all that?
No, it's all again. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about my company. It's called Oak View Group. Mm-hmm. Now, this company here built the arena in Belmont, New York, UBS Arena. It was approximately $1.1 billion. They built the arena in Seattle, the Climate Pledge Arena. That was between $1.1 and $1.2 billion. They're building a complex in Vegas, $3 billion. And why am I saying all that? These people do it right. And when you see, they toured me and said, look, if you have any doubts, we're going to show you these other buildings. And I started touring these buildings, the Moody Center in Austin, which is, I think, arguably, I think it's the #1 arena stop in the world right now. So anyway, the backstage experience again, as well as the front of house, will be state-of-the-art, first class, I promise you.
Yeah. Well, I know people are looking forward to it. We had a local boxer recently, sellout house
Yes.
there. We have some more boxing events on tap, UFC type stuff.
Oh yeah. We're in contact with the UFC. We've started talking about Javante. You never really know. It depends on how the timing is. But absolutely, I'm all in. If you ask me, do you want to have? Absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah. That's a home run to me. That's an incredible event.
Baltimore showed out for that event.
Oh, it was again, one of those things, we supported it, so they definitely want to be back too. UFC was one of their strongest events. It was one of my most wildly successful events ever in the history of the building. so most profitable. So definitely want them back. I mean, that was an incredible coup too, to have John Bones Jones come and have his brother playing on the Ravens at the time, right? I mean, that's just, again, I told you, luck. It's just with the timing. Sometimes my timing is incredible with these things, right? And you know what's cool? We even do some charity events like Soft Side for the animals, right? And I know you've seen it and been part of it. And what's neat about that is it was created to change the mindset of young people not to abuse animals, right? And what they did, they took these athletes and stars and said, look, you have this big 350-pound lineman holding a little cat, and he's gentle. You don't have to be mean. It's actually, you're more of a man to treat animals kindly. And what's nice backstage, I get to be part of that. And backstage, you see, Adam Jones to whatever the football players are at the time, and I'm talking Philly, Dallas, Baltimore, and they are all human beings. They're all great. They love being there. And again, it's one of the privileges what this facility has done for me and my family. It's not just Baltimore. I can talk about that, but it's really brought a lot together. It's been the catalyst almost roadmap by my whole life. I absolutely adore it. And for what it's done to the community.
Again, you've been there. I mean, from
been there longer than I haven't.
I mean, I don't know if you started when you started there, if you had a dream of, I want to run this place one day. Did you?
No, and it's funny because at the time, again, it's funny how it's all tied together. My boss, Donna Julian, who hired me, works for Jordan down in Charlotte. It's where the CIA was, so I took it from her, right? Well, not just me, but Visit Baltimore. Baltimore did, right? But I would just go to her every 2 years. I would have like a 2-year plan and say, look, I want to better myself. Actually, it's a 3-year plan. Every 3 years, what do I need to do? What kind of education? And she would send me away to, management training, Dale Carnegie class, time management, college prep classes, specific classes for our industry, and she just looked out for me and said, I think this is good for you, and I think you should do this. And honestly, I never thought she would leave. And I was cool. I was cool being number 2. It was actually easier being number 2 because I never forget the first day she left. Look, I'm excited, right, not that she left because she was one of my best friends, but when she left, okay, now I get the job. And I remember sitting back in that chair going, oh, no, because I don't have a fail-safe anymore. If I make a mistake, I don't have a big brother or big sister to grab and say, I got this. You're okay. I'll protect you. But again, I'll be sexist for a second. But I'm no different than every guy. I got a little vinegar in my veins, right? And it was nice to have her balancing me out. Well, now before I opened my mouth, I would have to sit back and go, how would she react? Right, instead of me coming back and firing right away, how would she react in this situation? And it was a lesson well learned that I still use her. I still use her in my mind and use her advice. So
where'd you go to high school?
Overly.
All right. Did you go to college?
I went to Essex and UMBC.
And did you go right out of high school?
I did.
Okay. And did you major in electrician?
Yeah, I majored in business and electronics at the time.
Right.
And I just, in my mind, I love the troubleshoot. I don't know. We all have again, not to be corny, a calling, right? Mine was always to fix things and think logically. When things aren't logical, it messes me all up, right? I like order and logic. And somehow it applies to my business now, right? You build the show, you get the show, you go through this checklist, and it just kind of works out. So somehow I never planned on going in this path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. All I knew is I was never going to make it as a baseball player. I thought I was for a while, and God didn't give me the gift, so I didn't make it. And I kind of just, again, you work hard and was proud of doing what I did at the time. I remember going to a bar in the late 80s and looking at the scoreboard during a blast game and go, I just fixed that, right? I was proud of what I did. Then, going to see what Baltimore can do and see monster trucks and the Sades and the Prince and the Eagles and we did the NCAA first round. The NCAA first round, I remember, God, it was a lot of moving parts. And we had a guy in Oklahoma, Big Country. Do you remember Big Country? Brian, I forgot his last name. But anyway, they're practicing. Now we have three, back then, this was a long, long time ago, 96, maybe 95. And we have 3 backboard setups. It's all we have for the entire tournament. First practice, he shatters the backboard. I'm like, one more, we don't have it. We're done. We can't do this tournament. I walked up to him and said, hey, do me a favor. Don't do that again, because if you do it again, we don't have a tournament. He goes, yes, sir, promise I won't do it again. And he was like 6'9", again, 300 pounds. Again, you do just the different things I've been through my career, and when I say me, I don't mean me personally, arrogance, but all of us as a team. We're blessed. I mean, it's a great gig. It really is.
But I think it's a greater story. I mean, I've come to know of you over the years, before you were even in the GM role, and it's just a great story of how you have gone about it, and you could feel the energy, and people should feel that energy and know that all of that is poured into the building and poured into the acts and poured into what they're going to receive from the new building as well. And that's a story of success that other people can also get from it. You get from it what you put into it. And, start out as an electrician to now booking the tours of some of your favorite artists. And that, I want to, as we get to a conclusion, I want to ask do you stay for a lot of these artists?
I'll have to. That's my job. No, I don't have a choice. Again, this is probably not what people want to hear, but yeah, I'm there for I would say 99 and 64% of all concerts, right? Some of the family shows when they're redundant, when we have 21 performances at a circus, I'm not there for every performance at a circus. But the problem is,
I mean, that's a heck of a commitment.
Yeah, and like I'll have friends of mine that go, hey, do you want to go see? And honestly, you don't want to hear this because people probably look at me and go, how is that true? But, a mechanic, what does a mechanic's car look like? It's probably falling apart because the last thing he wants to do is go home and work on his car.
Right.
A person who makes candy for a living, right? Do you think they want to go home and eat candy, right? So honestly, I like sometimes just going home and sitting in the middle of the woods and listening, to things, right? And kind of being, calm and stuff because your whole life is amped up, work-wise, right? Again, I think it's more of the rush.
Do you get to enjoy it though? Do you get to?
I enjoy it from a different point.
Are you in the element? Like I want to make sure everything is working right.
You just nailed it. Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say. Was I once a fan of Prince? Was I once a fan of the Eagles? Yeah, I'm always going to be a fan. But do I listen to that song and dance? No, that doesn't do it. But now, do I come in and the fruits of our labor is incredible to be able to see, right. Oh, my God, look what we just did. Right. This is our baby and boom. And guess what we're going to do again tomorrow night, right? It's the funniest thing when you literally have monster trucks, and we do 5 shows. 4 of them are sold out. You have 60 tandem truckloads of dirt moved in, and the following day or two, you could have a sold-out concert. It still blows my mind. What I love about my job is I'm a pretty conservative guy. I go to the same 7-Eleven to get my coffee. I go to the same job. I know it takes 42 minutes for me to get to work. I park in the same spot. I love all that. I love order. Remember I was telling you before, I like all that order in my life. But my building changes around me, so I never get bored. How cool is that? Yeah. We did bull riding over ice one time because we had so many events. Some of the things. We had Joel Osteen one time in the winter, and a warm front came in, and we actually created weather. It started raining inside the arena because of the humidity and the change of temperature and stuff because we had ice on the floor. So, I talked about understanding trigonometry. We have to understand physics too. Sometimes you go, all right, it's rain. Okay, how do I dry the air? What's the best way to do this and the fastest way to do this, right? And then, AXA come in and they'll say they need this or need that, so you got to be able to move on your feet. You're never, you just got to be like a Marine. You got to be adapt and overcome. That's just the way it is, and they expect that. And that's what kind of sets you aside from the facilities that don't and take it for granted.
Yeah. So I want to end on a high, but I have to ask: have there been some stumbles? Now, every major city in America has its issues, but Baltimore, of course, has had a unique set of issues over the past several years. Have you encountered any challenges trying to book the arena over the past number of years? And of course, COVID has dominated the past 2 years for sure. But with the unique set of challenges that we've had, crime in particular, of course, has that been something that you've seen that's been noticeable if you just look at the, say, past 5 to 7 years versus the previous 5 to 7 years?
I got to tell you, I hear it. It's a concern because it's out there. I hear it from promoters. I hear it from agents. But, excuse me, I haven't seen a tail off. I haven't seen it. I have not. It's hard to disprove a negative, so I can't say I know for a fact that I lost this show or didn't lose this show, because sometimes you just will never know, right? Mm-hmm. But I've never heard it, honestly. Are the things we can do? Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to have just kind of common sense. You want to see safety. You want to see better lighting. You want to see cleanliness, right? But I got to tell you, through the years, if I ever had a problem or thought I was going to have a problem, no matter what mayor was in office, if I make that phone call, I've never had a problem. Whether it's scalping, to people selling bootlegging on the side, to other situations. I've always had the support of the city itself. There have always been good people and understood that they needed to do that. It was the right thing to do. So am I concerned? Sure, you're always concerned, as I'm concerned about the weather and everything else, but I can't really control it. I do my best to control. We try to help out as much as we can. At the time, before I was only responsible to the doors of the building, but we literally would hire security, cleaning. We worked heavily with the Downtown Partnership, which is an incredible organization. As ambassadors to the city, they would help clean the bus stops. We would help clean the bus stops. So no different than, it takes me back to the old time in the city when people would go out and clean their stoops and also clean the area, the sidewalk in front. Right. Well, that's what I was taught, so we do the same thing with the building. So you don't always depend and cry to the city. Sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves and do it yourself, right? Extra effort, yep. I mean, that's my responsibility. Yeah. I want the city to do it. I want the city to help, sure, but I'm going to do it too. It's the right thing to do. So anyway, it's always worked out well for us.
Well, the new CFG Arena, the CFG Bank Arena, is transit-oriented development, of course, because you can get off on the light rail there. You can get off on the Baltimore Metro link at Charles Center and be right there. You can even take a scooter because there's a scooter lane that gets you right there as well. So it's easily accessible. Again, I've been going there so long. I remember the Gage menswear that used to be across the street that one of my uncles would take me to. And just so many memories leaving out of there and going home and performing wrestling moves, and my poor mom spending nights at Sinai Hospital because I had to get stitches, because we were performing wrestling moves after leaving a wrestling match. So I don't let my son watch wrestling now because I'm scared. But no, so many memories from the Baltimore Civic Center, but it's still a civic arena in our city. And Frank, I can't thank you enough. This has been fun, and we're looking forward to making a whole lot more memories there. And I think, when is it due to be finished?
We will do a soft open for the CIAs at the end of February, then close down and do the touch-up list and open up for Bruce Springsteen April 7th and then never stop.
Wow. So February, the CIAA tournament, back to Baltimore again. The kickoff has just occurred, so it's coming back. And then it is on and popping in April with Bruce Springsteen. And then we have Anita Baker and Lizzo and more to be announced. And I can't wait to see that new group of shows that are coming. It sounds like it's going to be good. But Frank, we can't thank you enough. This has been fantastic to hear. Again, you're listening to To Be More. This has been a conversation with Frank Remesch. He is the general manager of the new CFG Bank Arena, formerly, of course, the Royal Farms Arena. And it's undergoing a nice renovation that you won't recognize when you go in it next year. So thank you for joining us on To Be More Podcast. You can find this podcast where your podcasts are located. We appreciate you listening, and thank you very much.